Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended, and I am here to show you the top 5 blueprint farms that you can actually use in game right now. Now obviously a lot of other maps aren't coming out at this moment in time, so your standard blueprint farms are not working, so you need to get good ways to actually get good loot. And I'm going to show you the 5 best ways to do that right now. If you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. I'm getting close to 100k and that's been my dream all along. So let's go ahead and start with my favorite method, and you guys have seen me use this countless times. Basically all you need access to is a fishing rod and a chair. Now the higher level the fishing rod you have, the better you are going to be able to actually perform inside of Ark. You can see that you get a crazy amount of loot right there as soon as you throw it in the water. But let me describe how this works real quick. So basically how it works is if you are fishing inside of Ark, it's the quality of your fishing rod times the fish that you reel in. Now the fish that you reel in, the larger the fish, the more loot you're going to get. And the higher value your fishing rod is, the more loot you're going to get as well. So you can see that there's a quality on the upper right. Once that gets around 1 to 1.1 quality wise, you're basically reeling in insane blueprints every single time you throw your rod in the water. Now obviously that's really useful, and it's probably one of the easiest ways and the safest, because all you have to do is find an area to actually get some fish. And there's so many on the island, but it's definitely one of the easiest ways to get crazy blueprints. So you just have to sit in the water. Now again, in order to get the fishing rods, you have to kill an alpha mosa or an alpha tuso, and both of those have the ability to drop fishing rods. Just so you know, you can see that one was a quality of 1, and you're gonna get some pretty good loot out of it. Now it will take some time. You're not gonna get blueprints every single time, but you will get some good blueprints in the long run. Now, even a primitive fishing pole will yield you blueprints eventually. It just takes a little bit of time. And you can see that there's like the loot that I'm getting right off the bat. Some pretty good stuff, actually. And then it gives you a whole bunch of endgame stuff as well. You will roll in loot. It just takes a little bit of time. Now, that's my favorite method, but it's not the only one. Technically, the most powerful method for getting blueprints in-game is to hit up the Lost Caves. Now, if you don't know what that means, basically there are 2 caves, the Caverns of Lost Faith and then the Lost Hope caves. Now, both of these caves are underwater, so you're going to need a really good tame, because they made it very difficult to run these caves. And just so you can see, here's the chords of the first one at 54.3, 3.8. And literally it's just a cave that you can go inside of, and with this cave you can basically, on the bottom side of it, there's going to be a whole bunch of drops. Now I'm in solo player mode and just spawned in, so there won't be any drops from me, but you can hit both of these caves up. You will need very good tames in order to do this, but it is commonly thought of as the #1 place to farm drops in the entire game, because you literally, there's only one way in and one way out. So as long as you have a good tamed mosa or a good tamed squid or something along those lines, you can run this entire cave without much difficulty at all. And yeah, I mean, I just went over the top of it, but you can actually go to the bottom and you just run this entire thing. Even a good basilo will get you through these caves, and they will get you an insane amount of loot. Now, I'm pretty sure that every single spawn in here for loot is an ascendant loot. So it's like the red loot crates. So you have to be above level 80 in order to do this. Unlike that fishing method, it is something that is, it's kind of end game specific. So you have to actually hit those, the levels in order to actually get there. Let's make sure I didn't go to the wrong one. Yeah, I went to the same exact one. I don't want to tell you where that one is, but that was the Lost Faith, and here is the Lost Hope. Just so you can see, it's basically the exact same build on the opposite side of the island. This one's beneath the swamp cave, and the chords are at 45.3, 95.6. And yes, you can see, again, you go into this cave, and the first loot crate is literally right as you get inside the cave, and they rotate, by the way. They're not in the same place every time. There's about 7 different spots in each cave that you can find them. So as long as you're going inside of these caves pretty regularly, they respawn every 30 minutes or so for loot crates. And yeah, it's probably one of the, I mean, considered one of the best things that you can do on any game mode. Now, this bridge will sometimes have one underneath it, but obviously you can't see it's right there right now. But it's crazy the loot that you can get out of these 2 caves. So these are technically the 2 best, but yes, it is very end game, because you need good tames to run these caves, because they're so filled with crazy loot. Now, the next one that is actually a little bit more difficult, but it's very easy to do early game. You just need to have the, I'm just going to write ghost here. You just need to have a decent tame in order to do it. And basically all that's going to take is you just have to have access to a good flyer, because if you go to the snow biome, now again, snow biome, the northern side of this map right here, this is your third best blueprint farm, because in the snow biome and on the edge of the snow biome is technically the highest spawning percentage of red and yellow loot crates when you're, I mean, literally in the entire game. So if you kind of just troll over the both of these mountains, you can do what's called a loot run and troll along the edge of the actual water and then troll over the top of the mountains, and you're going to get your highest spawn quality for loot crates in the entire game, the ones like the beacons that fall out of the sky. Now, this is a very popular one because it's very simple. You do not need to actually do anything special. You just literally exist and go to these locations, and it's got the highest probability of finding something good. And then once you hit that coastline, you're just going to go over the top, and then you will have a good chance of running into a yellow or red crate. Now, the reason that it's so common to get them over here is because basically the rest of the island is being picked clean by bobs or people that are lower level, because they see a loot crate and they just empty it. Whereas it's much harder to reach the snow zone because of the fact that you have to have it will freeze you to death. So you have to have some decent non-flak, but like your fur armors on. So you'll get a lot more drops over there, but because I haven't been hitting up the drops on this map, that's why that they're not going to be over there. So yeah, that is the third best, is to run that snow area in the snow zone, and you will get a ridiculous amount of red and yellow crates if you're running this area. Now, it's technically the easiest to do in my opinion, but you can do whatever you want. So that's the third best. Now, the fourth best in my personal opinion, because it's very difficult to predict when it's going to actually work or not work, is to run what's called the ocean drops. Now, if you do not know the ocean drops, if you go to the Ark wiki, there is a literal map with the exact coordinates. It's basically the entire rim on the deep part of the ocean. You can go to any location, and this one, just so you can see it, is at 96.4, 97.3. And you can go into this area and they will spawn in deep sea loot crates. Now you can just do a giant circle around the map. The reason that I don't like these as much, even though technically speaking they're the highest quality loot crate in the game, the deep seas are, there's a rotating cycle of 2 of them. So it's going to take you probably 30 to 40 minutes to circle the entire map on a fast tame. And you need to know exactly where the locations are and hope that no one else is looking for them. But technically speaking, it's the best. So definitely go to the Ark wiki. You can get in there and you can just pop these things. They are very simple, very easy. There's 2 of them. There's the ones with the ring around them, which are like the high quality tier, and you'll get double loot in those, and they will give you insane loot out of them. So that is another one. But again, you have to look up the coords. There's literally just, they go around the entire map, and that's how you do it. Now, the last one, this is my favorite method. If you have not used this one before, basically there are 2 caves. Carno Cave, not the greatest because there's only 1 drop that spawns in there. However, if you go inside of Swamp Cave, which is over in the middle of Redwoods, you can actually get an Ascendant loot crate every single time you go in there. Now, usually it's going to be a rare Ascendant too, so you're going to get some pretty good loot out of it. And it's also my favorite because it's one of the best places to actually get resources and levels in the game. Because in order to enter this cave, you're either going to need a gas mask or a full set of scuba. They changed it, so you need a full set of scuba. And basically, once you go inside this cave, yes, it's right here, and the coords, just so you can see it, are 64.835. Once you go inside this cave, you will be able to get a ridiculous amount of berries. If you use a Megapithecus, you'll be able to get a ridiculous amount of XP. If you use a frog, and then you can get there, because the bugs that spawn in here, you can come out with like 10, 13, 14,000 cementing paste. And because there's such high level everything in here, you'll come out with probably 5 bonus levels, even if you're at like level 80, 90 at the end of the game. Now, basically, you're just going to go down, and there's like 3 little distinct chambers to this cave. And there's like, once you get past these pillars on the front side, you have to go through this front side that used to be, you didn't have to. But what you can do is there's 2 things you want to pay attention to. When you open up to the main chamber, there's a left and a straight ahead. Go left first, because it's smaller and easier to go through this area. And once you go through it, stick to your left. And usually inside of this area, it's kind of like your central point. But you'll notice there's a little like mini entrance right here. You can technically find yellow crates up here, and they will spawn right up in this corner up here. And they will also spawn on the other sides of this room. And then it'll also bring you to the very, like literally just sticking to the left wall. It'll bring you to this final room right here. And this is where your Ascendant loot drops spawn. They will either spawn right here underneath this weird looking globular thing, and they will spawn right up here on this edge. And those are the 2 ascendant loot crates that'll spawn in this cave. You literally just stick to that left wall. And if you want to get the actual artifact that's in here, you just continue sticking to the left and you'll end up in this room where the artifact does spawn. Now, again, it's a little hard to get up here with a larger tame, so you have to use your, you can see there's a blue drop right there, but, so you have to be a little bit cautious, but it's by far the best and easiest overall cave to run. Now, it's not necessarily the best overall because it's got the highest number of red drops, but it's the easiest cave to run. Once you have the resources, you can do it nonstop and get a ridiculous amount of everything that I just mentioned. And yeah, pretty freaking awesome. So those are the 5 best blueprint farms that you can run on the island right now. And again, I told you how to do them, exactly what you need to do. The only one that's a little bit more difficult is obviously the ocean drops. Not my favorite because I need the chords and I don't have them memorized. But that's the best way to get loot and especially farm the end game stuff that you need to farm. So hopefully this video helps you out. And if you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. All right, Teach.